Welcome back to the Team Nerd Herd podcast, where our best advice is if you want to do it right, collect what you like. Team Nerd Herd, we're super excited to bring you yet another content creator spotlight interview, a segment we like to call, What If We Never Shut the F Up? Well, tonight you're going to find out. Without further ado, let's go ahead and introduce our guest. Now, you might have read some of his titles in America's Kingdom. You might have read some of his other titles in Don't Ever Blink. Oh, no, you haven't yet, because we have. We were so lucky and gracious to get that. Devil's Dominion, that's another banger of a cover because it sold out real quick. And Scouts Comics Black Cotton, our friend to the podcast representing Pendulum Heart, Brian Hawkins. Bring him on in.
Hey guys, how are you?
What's going on, Brian?
Hey,
thank you for coming on the show.
Absolutely, what an intro! I'm blushing.
Oh man, you know, if you wanted a hype man ever to follow you around, Brian, let me be him, man. I will open the doors and be like, "Ready? Are you ready?" And we could just let you in, man. Just so get us coffee, get everything, you know.
I'll keep that in mind for sure. Yeah,
and we can bring the music too. I saw you dance in the back room.
Backstage, I was dancing. I had a drink in hand. It was like college days. I was like, "Hey,
right,
right on."
That's our house DJ Darian.
Mm-hmm.
Great guy.
Shout outs.
Yep.
Yeah, for sure.
Now, Brian, you know, like, again, we'd like to thank you so much for joining the Team Nerd Herd podcast. And one of the icebreakers and key openers of a staple, need I say, to the Team Nerd Herd podcast is tell us a little bit of Brian Hawkins. Who is Brian Hawkins? Where did he start? You know, tell us about your comic book origins.
Absolutely. First and foremost, thank you guys for having me. I do not take it lightly at all. You know, I love podcasts. I love talking. So, Brian Hawkins. So, I am a graduate from VCU, English major. I taught English for 17 years. You know, at the beginning of that, I began some writing. I actually formed a theater company early on, like when I was like 25, 26, Change World Productions. And we did like 3 or 4 shows in Virginia. I wrote, produced, directed, etc. And then I got married and had kids. That's right. And so that changes the landscape just a little bit. So a little brief hiatus. I still wrote. I wrote and so published a novel that was based off of the play I wrote, one of the plays I wrote. And then in 2012, I was fortunate enough to dive back into, rediscover my comic book origins. So here's the origin story, right?
All right.
And yeah, you know, and it really came about through in 2012. You know, I was watching The Walking Dead, believe it or not, like it had just started. And I was like, it really went by really fast. I just, all of a sudden, it was this like paradigm shift. And I had the opportunity to jump back into comic book collecting, comic book reading. You know, it was a brief window between high school and college where, you know, just busy, you know, and you're trying to figure yourself out.
Yeah.
And so I really just, you know, was becoming more comfortable with myself and who I am. And I got a chance to rediscover comics, and it was great. And since I was an aspiring writer, I'm like, what if I could write one of these? So I just began to dig into like how to write a comic. And from there on, I say 2012, it was probably like around 2011, 2012, because it was a year process of like just kind of self-teaching. And it's been, you know, self-publishing since then, and then jumping into freelance, which has really just been a huge blessing, honestly, with connections and meeting people and talking to people and just learning, constantly learning. And so fast forward, here we are.
So
Just live and direct.
what was your first comic book that you ever like picked up and read?
Oh man, my first comic book. Look, I've had that question, and all I know is that it was a Spider-Man. I know it was a Spider-Man. I do not know what number. Oh man, like so we used to, a friend of mine, we used to collect comic books. Like we would just go to the store. Well, I say collect, but we were just reading. Like we didn't have to like collect the number and stuff. I wish we did though. But anyway, right. So we would go to comic book store. My mom and my dad would drive us, and we would buy a bunch of comics, and we would buy the trading cards. I was so big on Marvel trading cards.
Oh,
I got the trading card. Yeah. I stacks
to my heart.
So, yeah. Right? They were great. And so I still collect trading cards now. And so, yeah. Show that again.
Yeah, he's like, I got that.
It's JR's favorite character too.
Oh, Cupid. Oh, wow.
JR's our Wilson Fisk of the group.
Yep.
There you go.
I kind of fit the role, you know. I mean, big white bald head.
I respect it. And so so we would pick up comics and trading cards, and we would like read them, and then we would like play with the toys. And even when we didn't have toys, we would like make the toys. We would draw them and cut them out and play.
Oh man, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Speaking of toys, I see you got a couple in the background. Is that a Black Adam back there?
This is
that looks like Sinestro right
Sinestro.
there.
Is that Sinestro over there? I thought that was.
Yeah, he got some McFarlane.
Invincible,
which came out today, y'all.
And
Did you watch it?
I haven't seen it yet. I haven't
seen it either.
I'm saving it for tomorrow.
So good. So good.
Oh, I gotta get Adam to eat. I had to, and I just refuse to open these. I'm not even gonna open those.
Trust me,
man,
Steve is a 6-inch. Steve is a 6-inch collector. He doesn't like to pull his 6-inch out either.
Twice on Sundays, maybe. You know.
Hey,
I am off today if I can't get that off.
No problem. It's a holy day. Go for it.
Yeah. No, man, I'm right there with you on toy collecting. Well, Brian, so what other lines would you say that you collect other than McFarlane? Like, are you into collecting toys as far as figures?
Oh yes. So I have certain ones that I will not open, but especially in the last like few years, if I turned my screen, you guys will see like my office has like action figures on the floor. My daughter, she's gotten really big into action figures and like superheroes and Avengers. And so what we do is like we create stories and we play with the action figures. Like I used to.
Oh my god, that is great!
So like and she's like so hip on like the storyline, and so we would make sure that like we set a time limit, and then like we try to end it on a cliffhanger. Like she calls it out, like that's the perfect storyline right there. Let's stop. I'm just like yes.
Isn't it right?
Brian, are you taking notes?
That's right, Brian.
Are you taking notes?
Me?
Are you taking notes when your daughter's like telling you like, oh, this is how it's going to happen? This
I'm
is how
taking
it's
mental notes. She actually said we need to start writing this down so we know where to pick up. I'm like, we do. So I'm like, yeah, okay. Like,
that's great. That's the greatest gift right there, right? Because you're like, you're gonna pass it on, my dear. That's what it is, man.
I'm trying. I'm like, and it's not even like me forcing it. It's more like, hey, you're into this. So was I. So am I. Let's do this.
Oh my god, this is so great.
So
yeah, man.
So are you more of an indie guy than DC? It looks like.
So I will say that I am definitely more of an indie guy. So my segue back into comic books and the rediscovery that I like to call it was definitely more indie based. I have a few titles that DC and Marvel based that I am into. That's on my pull. But like, they're so vast and so broad that, you can't get everything. So I have the apps on my iPad and stuff, but like the titles that I'm really into for DC and Marvel, I'm really into Justice League Dark. That's my jam. That's
so who's your favorite on that
which
team?
Version of Justice League Dark?
So starting with Tinian, like I mess with him. James,
Mhm.
that's my guy. Like I mess with him. Whatever he writes, I try to read. So starting with that, Ram V, I am transitioning into him. I'm a fan of his, so I'm totally down. But I read Wolverine. I read Batman. So it's Wolverine, Batman, and Justice League Dark. Those are my Marvel DC books. I'm going to backtrack and I'm going to jump in on Venom, primarily because my boy Patrick, who co-writes and co-creates Black Cotton with me, he's a Venom Carnage guy. So I said, okay, I'm interested. So I'm gonna go back and I'm gonna read. But aside from that, a lot of what I read is really indie, because the stories are just so. It's just an open window of stories, and there's so many great creators and writers out there, and artists out there. So it's awesome.
It's a very diverse market too, and you got variety. Yes. That's the thing. You have a lot of meat on the bones.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Great. So much great creativity.
Alonzo, did you want to?
No, I just kind of want to elaborate on like what JR said. It's or kind of mentioned is the fact that there's all these independent books. They don't have all these continuity issues that like Marvel characters have or like DC characters have. I mean, you're essentially starting from a blank slate. So it doesn't take you too long to kind of catch up, where, if you're a Spider-Man fan, I mean, you have years and so many issues,
decades,
thank you, to kind of catch up on, because there's just so much stuff. But with all these independents that are coming out, I mean, it's like brand new, and you don't have to go far back in order to catch up.
That's so true. I actually I play catch up on the Walking Dead, believe it or not. I have back issues, like from issue, I think it was like 120 something to 193. I had the issues just backed up, and I got so busy that I didn't have time to read them, but I got them and I just saved them up. And so it was last year when, unfortunately, when COVID began, I said, you know what, it's time. And so I purposely avoided knowing what happened at the end. And I went back to like 98. And I read 98 all the way to 193. That was some of the best comic book reading experience I've ever had. And when I finished at 193, I was like, damn it. Robert Kirkman can write a fucking book. Oh my God. Like that is
out of my soul.
It's brilliant.
Yeah.
I'm just like
brilliant.
Oh, and you ended it the right way. I don't feel upset about it. I'm just like,
well, it felt like he just kind of dropped the mic because no one knew he was going to end it. He just went, okay.
That's it. I'm like, you can't end better than that.
Yeah.
You cannot end better than that. I'm like, okay. Respect. Total respect. Total.
Right.
Admiration and all.
I know.
So,
go ahead.
Go ahead, Alonzo.
No,
go ahead, please.
No, I was just going to say that the way it ended was just like fantastic. And like how the way JR mentioned, it's like no one knew like that was going to be the last issue. And
I still so prefer the aliens to show up at the end of it.
I know. It was just like,
you heard that, right, Brian?
I'm sorry, say that again.
Did you ever hear about the aliens thing at the end of it?
So look, no. Okay, so I read a little bit about that because I know that he actually had the writer for it was Brian K. Vaughan, right? He wrote the alien story. Like they had a comic, right?
No, what it was?
Yeah. They do have a comic.
They may have a comic, but he pitched a story to Image about zombies and everything. And at first they're like, he was reading the room. He's like, yeah, they're gonna say no. They're not. They're like, nah, this is not gonna happen. And then he's like, but the twist is at the end, it's all gonna be because of aliens.
Oh.
And they're the ones that had this, and they did exactly what you did. They went, oh, really? And then they're like, we'll buy it now. We'll go for it.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that.
And so it was a running joke the whole time that he was going to at some point put these aliens, because they're the producers, or they're not the producers. The company was going like, okay, where is these aliens? Yeah. He's like, they're coming. Don't worry. And it got to a point where it got so popular, he stopped having to go, they're coming. He just kind of went, they were never coming.
Yeah, that's so cool because, I mean, I haven't looked for the issue, but there is an issue that with Brian K. Vaughan that he wrote. It's like one thing, I think it's a one shot or something that touches on the alien thing, I think.
Yep.
I think
I've
never read it.
It's I haven't read it, but I've seen it at my LCS and I haven't picked it up yet. But it is the alien issue. It's a black cover, or it's a very dark cover with like red in the middle, and it's it has to do with the aliens. So it could be that exact explanation you provided, JR.
It must have been a one shot.
Yep.
That he did, and it was for like an ECC exclusive or something, like some con exclusive.
Look, I actually still collect it. Like, so when he said, you know what, I'm going to come back and I'm going to double down on this and I'm going to get your money for the colors. I'm like, take my money, bro.
Yes.
Like I'm buying them. I'm buying them all.
Right.
Because like, I didn't have the original one in black and white. So I'm like, you know what? I'm going to have the original one in color for sure.
There you go.
I'm going to have every single one of them. So yeah. So
I'm with you, man.
He doubled down and got me.
So I've kind of read in other interviews too. Like, did you use that like atmosphere that The Walking Dead generated for your book Black Cotton?
You know what? That's a great question, and I would say yes. Well, I'm a huge, obviously, Walking Dead fan, and so when Patrick and I were building the concept of Black Cotton, you know, we talked about the decolorization of Black Cotton and how, since it's social order of white and black reverse,
Mm-hmm.
you know, we should take out the color. And I'm like, yeah, and here's why. And, you know, we were going back and forth, and we both agreed that, like, for one, because of the decolorization and how it focuses on the character and the story and the facial features and the actions of the characters as per se, what like their color are, you know, or is. We also was like, what? It's kind of interesting because you then create this universe similar to The Walking Dead, to where, you know, you're in this black and white world with gray tones, and you kind of have to weave through it because we're so visual and you know, and we're so like, you know, I mean, when we dream, like we even dream in color usually, you know, if we have a dream that's in black and white, I mean, I never heard of it, or it's odd. We dream even in colors with, you know, you have the prisms and hues, et cetera, et cetera. So when you take away the color of something, I feel like it really forces you into a different reality, a different universe. And so I feel like the Walking Dead accomplished that very well, coming out black and white. And we definitely wanted that for Black Cotton. You know, we want you to be in this different. There you go. That's so cool. That's so cool. Yeah. Yeah. Black Cotton.
That's right, man. I was amazed by it, man. Especially for these times and everything like that. I loved the storyline. I loved how the script was flipped. I know for a fact, you know, you had to get to issue 2, like on FOC. A lot of people in the community have been buzzing. A lot of the indie lovers like myself have been on top of this title and are like awaiting issue 2 and what goes on next. I know for me, I am. I'm excited.
That means a lot. Thank you so much. And like one of the things that Patrick and I talk about all the time is like, we cannot wait for everyone to catch up with us, knowing where the story's going, because, you know, while it is, you know, it hinges upon, you know, relevant social issues.
Right.
You know, we are dealing with a family that are, you know, that's 1% of 1% family. and the dynamics of that within the social order of that world. There's a lot of things. There's a lot of new characters that's going to come into play, and so we're really excited about everyone catching up with what we know. So that's so cool. Thank you.
So, oh no, thank you.
How did you come up with that story though? I mean, the story's I've not read something where it's like the reverse of something that's actually happening in the world. So how did you come up with that?
So the story goes like this. Patrick and I have a mutual friend named Luke Wright, who is he and I taught in DC together, and I was freelancing. I was writing comics, and so Patrick is a collector, and so he had an idea, and so Luke was like, "Well, I need to hook you up with Brian. Like, I work with this guy who write comics," and so in January 2020 now. Patrick, Luke, and myself, and their wives, I meet up with them and we have lunch one Sunday. And so we were just shooting the breeze, talking. And so Patrick's like, "Look, man, I have this idea. And the idea is this: like, it's a world where everything is reversed. It was open-ended like that. Everything is reversed. And we're talking like race, and to the point where even the cotton was black." And I said, "Stop." I said, "That's the title, Black Cotton." And we're like, "Yeah." And so we just started building the concept from there and the vehicle by which we were going to present this world reverse. And so we talked there at the restaurant, and then we ended up going back to his house, and we just built out the vehicle, which was the cottons. We created the cottons, we created the family structure, and we said, this is the family structure is the best way to bring this concept to life, to tell the story. We worked out their name, we worked out like the mantra where they say Black Cotton. We just worked out all those details. Like, man, we spent hours, and we didn't stop, and we just kept going. And from January 2020 to now, Black Cotton.
That's right. That's so interesting. Like, just stop the name. It just like you couldn't catch lightning in a bottle, but today, on that day, you were like, there it is.
There it is. I like Percy Jackson. Thank you. Percy Jackson came through.
That's right, man. That's nice. Right.
Shout out to Percy Jackson.
I know.
That's right, man. Because without him, this could not be necessary.
Exactly. Yeah. Thank the demigod.
Yeah, that's right, man.
That's awesome.
So a little other question I'd like to ask, kind of like teetering into like some of your other work. Unless, Alonzo, do you got another question?
No. Go for it, Steve.
Go for it, Steve.
All right. So we got a chance to read you and Richard Kemp's Don't Ever Blink. Now, when we got this book, I mean, the Herd got 3 different books. We had to like a whole smorgasbord in front of us to read, and each and every one of those titles were amazing. But Don't Ever Blink was right up my alley because I like horror, but I like true detective, and it was meshed well and married together. Richard Kemp killed it on the artwork, but the storyline got me in, and I was just left with just nothingness. I wanted more. So where did that creation come into? What was the premise as far as how you came up with the ideas and how we kind of got here?
All right, cool. Look, first, I'll say first and foremost, I seem like that's always like overused, but first and foremost, I love horror too. I love horror. I love slasher. I love psychological thrillers. I'm so into that. And so Don't Ever Blink is an idea that I had maybe 2016 maybe. And I kind of wrote it out, and I played around with this some, and it just sat there some. And then what ended up happening was I was fortunate enough to I've been freelancing some, and I was fortunate to make a connection with Richard Kemp. And so I pitched him the story, He was like, I'm in. I'm like, all right, cool. And so so what I ended up doing was I went back and I looked at the story and I began kind of like tweaking it because, you know, from 2016 to 2019, 2020, you know, I'm a different storyteller, you know. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Evolution, growth, etc. So I began tweaking it some. And so I ended up sending him the script and he ended up creating the first character concepts. Man, the first character concepts come back. Here's the interesting thing, right? The interesting thing is up until the point where you have character concepts, like you have this vague, vast meshed of like what they look like in your head, like what the characters look like in the story. But when the concept came back and he nailed, like that was like how I saw Tinsley, but like he gave formation to her, he birthed her. And at that point, that's all I saw. And so then I began to go back into issue like 2 and 3 and 4 and 5. And I rewrote it and edited everything with what Richard created in mind. And so, you know, his art really shaped the final vision of Don't Ever Blink. And without him, Don't Ever Blink would not be what it is. So, you know, it's a true to form collaboration of what a writer and artist can do. And the power of that collaboration, which really to me, you know, only happens in comics. Like that collaboration is incredible. Yeah. And so we ended up, you know, he cranked out. Again, this is during COVID. So, you know, the unfortunate thing is that we are in COVID, but at the same time, it did because of the nature of our jobs, et cetera, it opened up this window of time to create. And so we created and Richard created and Don't Ever Blink came into existence. The origin of the story, man, if I remember thinking like the saying about like, you know, don't blink or you'll miss it. And so the idea is like if you blink for a second, you'll miss what's really happening. And so that's what's happening in Don't Ever Blink. Like what it is and the answer to it is right in front of your face. It's right there. But because we blink, you know, in that millisecond, whatever, you know, you're going to miss something. And so it's a bunch of panels, sequentials that is going to add up to this thing, this culmination that is like, oh, whoa, okay. And I'm so excited. Richard is maybe 2/5 of the way through issue 3 now. I'm going to send out the digital rewards for issue 2 this weekend, and we're going to send out for prints by Monday. And so hopefully, you know, we'll be getting issue 3 out. It's a 5-issue series. You know, it's all written, and he has them all. So it's coming.
Ooh, I cannot wait, man! I can't wait to get my comic Kung Fu grip hands on it and just finish it all the way through. That's it.
Richard was teasing it to us. He was just going, and you could see it in his eyes, and he's just going, "You haven't even seen the start of it. It's just like, wait till you get to the end, and it's just gonna be." And I'm just like, "Well, fucking give it to me. I want it now." I mean, just like he does.
Stop.
I'm just like, dude.
Exactly.
Leave me there hanging.
Yes.
Yeah,
like I'm echoing JR, man. I mean, oh my God. I wanted more. I was hook, line, and sinker. Like my favorite part, and I was telling Richard, and I'm telling you now, is that whole scene where he comes home and you know, it's all quiet. There's nothing there. And he's just walking to the living room. He sees a lady sleeping there on the couch, stares at her, and then just walks back. And then it focuses back on her, and she opens her eyes. And I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, pacing
no,
art.
no
Fantastic.
dialogue, no dialogue. Exactly. Yes.
But see that's classic. It's kind of like that Snake Eyes G.I. Joe issue where there's no talking in the whole issue. It would have ruined it if you put any words there. It had to be just that whole thing of no dialogue and just the interaction. I mean, it was perfectly done.
It was great.
Thank you for that.
Oh my God. And again, it's just, I want more. Give me more.
It's coming. It's coming. I really thank you guys for that, because I mean, credit to like Richard, like being in my brain and like him looking at that script and saying, here's what needs to happen, and him bringing it to life, because like exactly how he drew it, how he brought it to life is exactly what I was thinking. And you know, the mood of it, and the mood is very important. And you're like those nuances of like the beats, like, you know, you can actually, like when I look at it, you can feel the beat, like boom, boom, boom. And like, oh yeah, that's it. That's horror. That is horror right there. Yes.
Oh man, we need to get you to direct like real horror films, because as of Ridley, where you could watch a horror film and you're like, why did they do that? Why did they ruin that? Like, I want to be scared. I don't want to be like, rewind it, please, and do it over.
Right. No. Hey,
that was a perfect like it was perfect setting and everything. Like to Alonso's point, I was sitting there. I'm like, oh. You are perfectly setting this up.
It's like, give me more.
Yeah.
I was like,
it's coming. It's coming. It's coming.
Go ahead, Brian. Go ahead, please.
We cannot wait until we joke around and be like, man, you know, if this was just one graphic novel, oh man. Like, but then there's something with like the issue to issue, like the anticipation too. So it's like, where do you marry the two at? Like, you know, anticipation, but the graphic novel. So, but we're waiting as well for you guys to catch up to what the story is, because we are really excited about it. I'm excited about most horror stuff anyway, because it's I love horror stuff. It really just hits on, for me at least, the human condition. And like, it's funny because, you know, most people, you know, maybe they wouldn't think that, but like dealing with fear and dealing with anticipation, anxiousness, nervousness, doubt, guilt, all those things like that really plague us. Like horror looks at all those things and it puts it in a mirror for you. And when you see it, you know, maybe it's on a subconscious level, but you're dealing with it. You're dealing with all these, you know, that demonic dread that you have about what life is and what could happen. And how do I get through it? And that's what horror does. I freaking love it, man. I love it.
And it takes some serious skills to be able to do it too, because horror in movies is real easy to just cut shots and shit. But to write it in a novel or write in a comic and draw it and have people not know what's going to be on that next page, it's really hard to do that, to realize, okay, I have to just put this much there to lead them into the next page. And it was well done. I mean, it's one of those things where you read and you're just like, wow, I didn't expect that. You know what I mean?
Thank you.
And that's extremely hard to do nowadays. I mean, Steve reads more horror than I do. But I mean, and there's some great stuff out there, but
for sure,
it's definitely good stuff.
Thank you so much for that.
It was a real treat, I gotta say. I mean, and then you had me looking upside down. I was like shifting up my laptop for Immortal Gatsby too.
I just gotta say, fuck you on Immortal Gatsby.
Yeah,
8 pages.
Yes.
No disrespect though. No disrespect though.
Yeah, no disrespect.
Oh my god.
But
yes.
8 pages was like your girlfriend coming to give you a kiss, looking fine as hell, and then walking out the room, and you're just like, what the fuck?
I like that, JR.
Yes.
But it was.
It exactly was that.
I mean, because I literally thought, oh, well, maybe I just didn't download the whole thing or something. I was like, where's the rest of the pages? I mean, I literally felt like my girlfriend in a hot-ass outfit just gave me a kiss and just fucking walked out the door and just like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
That's hilarious. That's hilarious.
But I mean, it was so beautiful. Like
That's
we're
Richard,
telling
man.
Brian, I'm sorry, Richard, don't colorize it.
No, yeah, no.
Leave it black and white.
Yeah.
Because that takes some balls first off to do.
Yep.
Because that shows every little nook and cranny of your skills.
Mm-hmm.
And that you could see that your writing is elevating to it. You know what I mean? It's like a challenge of you two going back and forth.
Yeah.
And I just can't wait for that thing to come out. I'm just like, I saw Richard's doing his Kickstarter, and I thought it was going to be Gatsby, which I'm looking forward to Warrior Priest also. But I thought it was Gatsby, and I was like, all right, let's go. and then I'm like, I was like, okay, well, I like that too, but can I get the other one, please?
Yeah. So what's going on with Immortal Gatsby, Brian?
So we are building it out. We're fleshing out all the story. We have a 4 chapter arc for the first volume. It's definitely going to be more than one volume. So it all just has to fit into the time constraints of everything that he's doing, that I'm doing. But we are steadily working on it. One of the first things, we are committed to it, and we're so committed to it that we went and we trademarked the name. So we are 100% in. The Immortal Gatsby is owned by us. So we are in on it. So it's coming. It's definitely coming, and we are definitely excited about it.
I know you got our brother Ian, who couldn't make it on the show. Much respects to him, but he was salivating at the bit. I know all of us were. We were looking at each other like, "Are you serious?" Like, Brian, I had to get up. I went to go take the trash, and I had this dumbfounded look, like I'm gonna go back to my laptop and double check and make sure I did not miss anything.
Oh, we were texting each other, going like, "Hey, did you get like I only got 8 pages, guy? I mean, did you get like more pages? Where is this?"
Yeah,
that's so cool.
And this
so
it
cool.
can all be found on your website, right? Pendulum Heart.
I'm sorry, say that again.
And you can find all of this on your website, your site, Pendulum Heart, correct?
Yes, absolutely. Which is Richard's creation. He really took the initiative, and he was like, "Okay, look, here's what we're doing," and we talked about it, and this brand. So Pendulum Heart is is us. It's our joint venture brand into horror, sci-fi, and fantasy. And so we talked about like what this website would look like, what it would be about, what the brand would be about, and Richard's creativity just went, and it became the vehicle for how we sent out the preview of the Immortal Gatsby. And so we're still building on Pendulum Heart, and we have another creator who has his own company, but he's with our brand, to where the whole Pendulum Heart brand is about promotion, independent comic promotion that focuses on horror, sci-fi, and fantasy. And this one creator, Matt Wilding, he created a great one-shot called Nightmare Man. Did well on Kickstarter. Now he's selling it independently with through Comixology and various other platforms. But like, we connected with him because he's a great creator, and he has a mind for horror and that thing that we're into. And so with the brand, we just want to build a community that focuses on this kind of storytelling. So it's fun. It's fun. It's fun, and it's getting these stories out and seeing what they do and how they affect whoever reads them. So it's cool.
Nice.
Yeah, and I can totally tell horror is in your veins, because we have this. Don't ever blink. We have Immortal Gatsby that's taking you from a good dynamic, but then you go and jump into Devil's Dominion. And I got to tell you, I went to my comic book store. I saw it and I wanted it. They only had a couple, and I got to the counter. I'm like, hey, I want to get Devil's Dominion. They're like, hey, we sold out. I'm like, no.
Oh man.
But it's been hot. It's been hot too.
Cool.
But and in reading the synopsis, that's what's killing me. I'm like, I need to get more horror like under my belt.
Yeah, Devil's Dominion it's very special to me. Demetrius, who's the publisher at Black Box, he took a chance on me. We met. I had a little portfolio, sent it to him, a couple references, and we just clicked, and we've been building ever since. This is like a 2-year relationship now, maybe 2.5 years. And, he said, look, I have this idea, and he threw the concept out. And we just began to build on the concept of like this person who sells their soul to the devil, but then gets control of that power. What does that look like? And so I end up pitching like, well, what do you think about it being a female? And what do you think about being a Black female? Because like, I haven't seen that before, and I would love to write a Black female in this position. And he was like, okay, yeah. He was so receptive, and we just started building on who this person would be. Devlin St. Paul in it, and just who she is, et cetera, background. Devlin is one of my favorite characters that I've ever written. She's really close to me. I like, there's a lot of just different aspects of my life and just my perspective, and just what I want to say is me taking a step out of my perspective to look at the world, to try to imagine what someone else's perspective is. In Devlin, she's what is the word, malgoration or something like that, one of the big words of that. And the story has really just has really evolved. It was amazing writing those 5 issues. Amazing. It changed me as a writer. I'm not gonna lie. It truly did. Yeah,
well, that's amazing. That's definitely amazing to see, like the diversity and the mixture of stories that you're creating. Like I'm curious to see, what the future holds in these next, with Black Cotton, but also with Pendulum Heart. Yes, please. Thanks, JR. I was gonna ease that in there, but JR's just like,
just shove it in.
I'll do it. Yeah. It's a way of life. So as far as Black Cotton, when we're looking as how many issues are going to be built into this series? I have to know.
Okay, so the first arc is 6 issues, but there are multiple arcs planned. Of course, that is dependent upon sales, et cetera. We do have an end in mind, but the end is, I will say, it's several arcs away. Well, I'll say a few arcs away, a few going past 3 for sure. We have it planned as ongoing, but we do have an end in mind. And we've really begun to look at the nuances of what's in the second arc, and like it's very exciting. I wish I could say more, but the story is the way that we're approaching it is that it's a universe, the BCU, the Black Cotton universe, and
that's awesome.
That's right.
I love it. You even have the name for it. You need to trademark that. Black Cotton.
We're working on it.
See, that sounds like alcohol.
Black Cotton trademark. We are working on the BCU trademark too. And so the plan is because right now in this first arc, we're looking at the Cotton family, but this reality, this universe, it's everywhere. This is a whole reality, and so even in this arc, you're going to see more characters come in that's going to begin to expand what the BCU is. So as the issues go out more from 2 to 6, you'll begin to see like, oh, wait a second, what is that? And it then goes into kind of the history of the prior knowledge of what of how this universe began. One of the most interesting things that we've had the opportunity to speak on is that in this universe there was no slavery. A lot of people one of the first thoughts is like, well, where did it happen where black people all of a sudden took over? And it's like, it's not like a point of where black people took over. It's just a change in reality where Africans came over first. And with that, they met the Native Americans, and a different course of transaction happened. And what ends up happening is we see that regardless of slavery or not, oppression still happens. And so one of the questions we're looking at is, or perspective is, whether or not, can we get to the same place as a nation, as a culture, without slavery? Would oppression still happen? Would social classing still happen? You look at other countries, right? Other third world countries, etc. There's a lot of countries that struggle with oppression and with class restriction that did not have slavery. So this is a human condition issue. This isn't, slavery was horrible, absolutely.
Oh,
but what's horrible was the root behind that horrible nature. It's the human condition. It's behind all these activities and the experiences. So slavery is one form or extension, physical extension of what the human condition can do. But there's multiple things that the human condition can do. And that's what Black Cotton is looking at. And so, it's not a point of like when the black people would take over. It's a point of, it's alternate reality.
It's a different point of view.
Exactly.
And 100%. I appreciate that. I was actually talking to Steve kind of about in a separate thing, just dealing with arguments and trying to look at it from different point of views. Yeah. Because when you kind of can do that, it helps diffuses it. Mm-hmm. Because when you start seeing things from not just your point of view of why you're pissed off, you're looking at it from their point of view of why they're pissed off. And I'm talking about, we can be fighting over a box of Cheetos. I don't care. You know what I mean? It's, if you look at it from all the different point of views, it helps you understand the whole picture rather than just your picture.
I agree with you 100%. And as Patrick liked to say, Black Cotton provides a safe environment for us to dive into these perceptions and for us to have these conversations that maybe wouldn't happen without that offering of a story to kind of mirrorize. I think I just created that word, mirrorize what it is that, is inside of us. And we're hoping that Black Cotton does that. So, and for right now, I know issue 1 out, there's a lot of question of where the story's going to go. And, we're confident and excited about, where the story's going, because I think that it's, it's not a, I mean, the best way to put it is it's a human condition story that all of us will be able to relate to, because we joke around and say, because if you're like a Black person, you're reading this, you're like, and you see the Cottons and you're like, oh, you want to kind of root for the Cottons because maybe hypothetically you're Black, but at the same time, actually the Cottons are kind of like the white folks. Actually, they're actually the 1%. And so the Nightingales, the girl who got shot in her family, are actually the middle class. So it's like, wait a second, do I want to relate to them? So it forces you to kind of put yourself in different shoes.
Yep.
But at the same time, you're kind of fighting against it because wait a second, but they look like this though. And so you're naturally drawn to this one aspect because of the visual representation. But then when you read it and go through it, it's like, well, wait a second. I had to think about this. And I say
That's
that
definitely powerful writing.
You sold me on it. I mean, I'm gonna go find a copy now, personally.
And
Powerful writing.
black
I mean,
and
you
white.
can look
Thank
back
you.
here. I collect
you
a
very
lot,
much.
so for me to add something to my pull list,
Hey,
it takes a lot.
I appreciate it. Look, there's not like one moment that I take any of this for granted. Like, it amazes me that as many people as there are have read Black Cotton. It's an honor. I'm humbled by it. We definitely want more to read it, but we don't take it lightly because it's a very relevant issue, obviously, and it hits on the pulse of a lot of sensitive stuff that's in us as human beings and our culture and our society and our nation. And so, we feel that, and we are not trying to come off preachy. We're not trying to come off as if we know right from wrong. We're writing perspective, and we're trying to write from the human condition, and we're writing from a place of, at the end of the day, unity and togetherness. Malcolm X, I say it a lot. He said in his autobiography that this is probably the most militant thing he said. If we could all just sit down at a table together, look at each other, and have an honest conversation, we can move forward.
Makes sense.
That is
That's
so
it.
true.
A plain and simple thing to do.
Yeah.
That's the
it.
only thing to do.
Yeah, that's
You're
it.
breaking it down to the simplest form. Now, Brian, we're going to go ahead and get into some rapid fire questions. This is a Team Nerd Herd staple. We want to make sure that, not only did we have the best interview, and we're sitting here waiting on so many titles. I just want to put it out there that we're still waiting and we're hoping. But the rapid fire questions. First thing that comes up to mind, please feel free to answer. And I'm going to start it right off.
Okay.
Horror flick, Scream or Texas Chainsaw Massacre?
Scream.
Okay. Alonzo, hit him with it.
Favorite character? Favorite comic book character?
Batman.
Oh.
Bourbon of choice.
Russell's.
Ooh. Favorite action figure line?
He-Man.
Big Rob. Our boy Big Rob's happy right now.
Nintendo or Sega Genesis?
Right.
Woo! Nintendo.
Sorry, I had to jump in on that one.
If you could write any character other than Batman, who would it be?
Shane from Walking Dead. I would create an alternate reality where Shane survived and Rick died.
Oh. Wow.
Man.
There's that theory out there that there's another version of that, of Walking Dead from Shane's point of view.
Oh, bring it.
Wow.
That they have
Bring
it
it.
where he is, because if you put Shane as the main character, Rick is the villain.
Yep.
I would love to see it. I have to think that as Robert Kirkman gets older, he's going to do it. I have to think that he's going to do it.
I think so.
Yeah, I'm ready for it.
Yes, because Shane did die in the second issue. I think. I mean, it was like super short.
It was in the first arc for sure. It was in the first arc, and he was done. He lasted longer in the show.
He did.
He did.
But in the comic book, he was like, "That's it."
So
Yeah.
I got another question for you. It's a little longer, but COVID has. We all look at COVID as being a horrible thing, and it was. But what's one great thing that's come out of COVID for you?
Time with my family and time with myself. Reflection.
Nice answer. Yeah, I kind of think that COVID kind of happened to force us to stop and just kind of pause everything and kind of just sit back and go, okay, I need to reorganize things, appreciate what we have, that type of thing.
100%. I'm there with you. It's, you look at the lives lost, you look at families affected, and it's tragic. I mean, there's no other word for it. It's horrible, it's tragic. And at the same time, you're recognizing that it's tragic and hard. Actually says something about you as a person. Said that, no man or a woman is an island to themselves. We recognize, that we are really together in this, despite the divisiveness and everything else that, we create. Now we are in this together. And I think that COVID helped us to see that. And today I will say, I went and I got my first shot, and I was telling my wife a few minutes ago, actually, before I joined you guys, that it was an individual choice, but at the same time, I felt a weight in doing it. I felt a weight because it not only adds a layer of protection for myself and my family, but it's my social responsibility. Yeah. It's my responsibility to humanity. That's what I felt. I felt that it was a responsibility to humanity to get this done. And to, I don't want to say to hell with the consequences, but, nothing's 100%. But I feel like trying that to help better all of us, even if it comes with some consequence, is worth it.
Yep. And it's going to be one hell of a party when this is all done.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, man.
Because I'm just thinking about all the music, all the books, all the concert. It's going to be amazing when this is over and we can throw these damn masks away. It's going to be like the women with their bras when they get home. They're just like, fucking take this shit off.
I might have to take my shirt and just whip it off. Just throw that sucker in the air.
We're going to be with those masks. We're going to be like, mask burning parties, watch.
Yep.
Yeah.
But it's going to be amazing once that happens.
Yeah. And you know what? It's going to happen eventually, because that's what we do as human beings. We adapt. We survive. We're made to survive. And we're going to.
And we're going to become bigger and better as a result of it.
Yep.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's it. It cannot go any other way.
Brian, it's been a real treat to be here with you and to hang out with you and to get a lot of information from you. But definitely please let our Team Nerd Herd podcast viewers know where they can find you, what's next in the future. Definitely plug anything you'd like to plug in. Now's definitely your time, and we'd like to thank you so much.
I appreciate it. Look, this has been a blast. It's been fun. I like talking. I like having conversation. So your guy, like your energy, all of you, is great. I love it. So thank you for having me, first and foremost, along with everything else that's first and foremost.
That's right. That's right, man.
But true words, though. Thank you very much. So next week, I have a Van Helsing book coming out with Zenoscope on the 31st, Van Helsing Black Annis. And Devil's Dominion each month here on out. Black Cotton, of course, is coming. And working on a few other things, a few self-publishing things, of course, with Richard Kemp. I also have another horror comic I'm working on called The Lunatic, the Lover, and the Poet, which is like a slasher. My ode to Scream.
That sounds like the three of us. The lunatic, the lover, the poet. That's the three of us right down the center here.
Oh man,
I'm gonna have to interview you guys.
That's right. That's right. You're like, what was your premise?
Right, exactly. So it's I'm tagging that as like CW's Nancy Drew meets Scream. So it's based off of a Shakespearean play, Midsummer Night's Dream, and there's a line in it called "The Lunatic, the Lover, and the Poet." And so with that, there'll be a backup story in that called "Believe in a Name." So a couple of just self-published kind of personal ideas. I'm just going to just kind of push out there. Horror, of course. It's my thing. And so that's about it. But I mean, at the end of the day, if you if you want to do it right, you have to do what you like, right?
Oh, that's right. That's right.
I feel like I've heard that before.